Indiana basketball has put in a ton of work in recruiting in the class of 2026, and I think results are on the way. But they're already working in the class of 2027 for one of the nation's best point guards.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. And today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Well, thank you so much for joining us, making this your go-to spot on this Monday or whenever you have decided to tune in for today's episode. We got a lot to get to on today's Locked On Hoosiers. Should every team just decide to pay $20+ million to win a national title, like Michigan apparently did? We'll give you some of my thoughts on that with the results that came out late last week, plus Indiana football bowl projections, along with some other teams in the Big Ten, according to ESPN. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, you're not going to like it, okay? But before we get to all those football conversations, we kick off today's show. We kick off the week with more Indiana basketball recruiting. And you and I have talked a ton about all the work, all the progress, all of the what ifs, right, that Indiana has out there right now for the class of 2026. You have 6 upcoming visits lined up over the next 5.5 to 6 weeks. And I made you a prediction late last week that I think Indiana lands, if not one, more than one of those 6 guys coming to take visits of Anthony Thompson, Junior County, Deron Rippey, right? Those types of players that are interested in Indiana and that Indiana is interested in. I think the 2026 class, to add on to Prince Alexander Moody, who's already committed, I think that class is going to end up being pretty solid. But what's exciting to me about Darren DeVries and this staff and the Indiana basketball program is while they were working from behind, and they still are working from behind in 2026, they've gone ahead and jumped ahead to 2027 and trying to make some progress there. And the name that continues to float around, that continues to get buzz, and did this past weekend because of some pretty famous dudes he was hanging out with. He's one of the nation's best point guards in 2027, and his name is Chase Branham. Okay, Chase spelled as you think, Branham, Branham, Chase Branham. He's from the state of Missouri, all right, in Rogersville, plays at Logan Rogersville in the class of 2027. Which seems like it's far off, but folks, it's really not. I mean, we're already over halfway through the month of August in 2025. You're about to see a ton of the 26 kids come off the board, and guys like Chase Branham in 2027 have made it known they would like to get this thing done before, I guess, well, sooner rather than later. Let's just say it that way, okay? He's a 4-star as of right now. He's a top 40 player no matter where you look. 247 says he's number 38 in the class, the 11th ranked point guard, and the 3rd best player in the state of Missouri. But you're getting this kid, or I guess you're going after this kid based off of his potential, because the film and everything already kind of shines. It already looks really, really good. But folks, he's a point guard that's 6'4" and 175 pounds. Yeah, that'll play. That's gonna be that's like piping a drive right down the fairway and splitting the divots and having 100 yards out. That's gonna play, right? Not that I know anything about that. But Chase Branham is a really, really talented player. Sure, he just finished his sophomore season and still has 2 years to go, just now going to be getting into his junior season of high school basketball. But man, turn on the film and it just speaks for itself. He uses his size, as you would imagine, but he can shoot the ball really well. He handles the ball really well with both hands, right? He's a really strong right-handed dribbler, but can make moves with the left. He can finish around one defender, two defenders, three defenders. Doesn't really matter. If you're there, he's just going to go over you, around you, under you, next to you, beside you, through you. Doesn't really matter. Chase Branham is a really, really good player. He can lead the breaks. He can catch and shoot. He can hit the high pick and roll. He can make passes for his teammates. And as a sophomore, you just see a lot of these trends that will carry him into a big P5 college basketball program. And here's the good news, folks. He already has an Indiana official visit set up. He's taken an unofficial, but he will be in Bloomington on the weekend of September 20th for his official visit. So Chase Branham, the 2027 prospect, who I believe will only be rising in the ranks. I think he gains that fifth star by the time it's all said and done. I think he'll end up being a top 20 player in this class for 2027 when it is all said and done. So he will be on an official visit to Indiana on September 20th. He's also going to a couple of other places. Tennessee is in that mix. Believe Texas is getting a visit from Chase Branham as well. A lot of big name schools are on this list. Creighton, Iowa, Purdue is on here. Missouri, who has become a competitive basketball program again here in recent memory. So he's going to be taking a couple of those visits, right? But the big thing that's starting to get people fired up and rallied up around this kid, Chase Branham, is who he was hanging out with this weekend. Did you happen to see who he was with? He was with Steph Curry. He was getting some work in with Steph Curry at one of his camps out in California. And just for what it's worth, he was named the camp standout at this thing with Steph Curry in attendance. Make that of what you will, and you can take anything from that. Good, bad, neutral, doesn't matter. But I'm going to choose, as I tried to do, don't always, but I tried to take the positive here. That's a pretty good sign. This kid is really talented, and I think it would be so special for Indiana to lock up somebody this early for the class of 2027. I think he could be done before we hit 2026 in the calendar year. I think that could happen. I think that's a real possibility here with him, and Indiana's in a really, really good spot. You're getting the first visit for him. Again, a couple of other visits are lined up as well, but someone who I think is just really, really talented. Listen to these stats that 247 says for his sophomore season in high school. You ready for this? Nearly 20 points a game, 4 assists per game, shot 38% from three, 74% from 2-point range, and 85% from the free throw line. I don't care who you're playing. Those numbers are incredible. They're outstanding. They are legit. Okay. And sure, the competition's only going to get tougher, and you would expect those numbers to kind of fluctuate a little bit, but he's a hooper, man. The guy's a player and somebody that you want on your team, somebody that wants the basketball in his hands, will push the basketball, and will shoot the basketball. Does that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound like what we've talked about with Darren DeVries and the offense that he wants to run? We got to see 3 games of it in Puerto Rico, and we're going to get to see an entire season of it in 25 and 26. There's a reason Chase Branham's interested in Indiana, and there's a reason that Indiana is interested in Chase Branham. He'll be here on September 20th for an official visit. The 4-star point guard at 6'4", 175 pounds. I'm not ready to talk about who is in the lead and things like that. I think it's still way too early for that for a kid who's still 2 years out that is about to start taking some of those official visits. And so we will hold off on that for now. But Indiana's in the mix, and you're going to get a visit, and it's time to roll out that red carpet, right? Time to show him why Indiana is a place for Chase Branham to be. All right, coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll talk about some football as we get closer to the start of the season. And yeah, it's time for bowl projections. ESPN puts out an article, and I'm going to rip it apart. We'll talk about that coming up next here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Drip Drop. If you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether that's with workouts, long days on campus, or staying focused on getting through school or through your 9 to 5 or whatever the case may be. Hydration is where it all starts. And that's where Drip Drop comes in. Drip Drop is a doctor developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of any leading sports drink. I always take a couple of packs with me to work. I have some in my drawer. I have some in my room. I take them everywhere with me because they're just that good. They work fast. They taste better than anything else I've ever tried. And they're really just they're just delicious and they're easy to use. And it's my go-to when I kind of feel myself getting a little run down. It's because I'm normally dehydrated. I always turn to Drip Drop when I need help in that area. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to dripdrop.com and use the promo code Locked On College. That's dripdrop.com. Code Locked On College for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. All right, welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day, as we are about to flip the switch over to football. But before we do, just want to make sure that you have already liked the video. Leave your thoughts down in the YouTube comments below if you're watching on the video version, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All those things help us grow, so thank you so much for doing that. And then if you are listening on audio, Spotify or Amazon or however you find us, thank you so much for listening there as well. And make sure that you are following us there and have those notifications turned on so you never miss a new episode. Well, as we get closer to the start of football season, people starting to release their predictions, right? People saying who's going to a bowl game and which ones they're going to, and their playoff predictions and conference champions and things like that. And I've seen some that are like, that's fine. I've also seen some where I just don't agree at all. And this one is with ESPN. And so, look, credit to them. They sit down and they pick and predict the Staff DNA Cure Bowl. They predict the Idaho Potato Bowl. They're predicting all these things. And unfortunately for me, I think we've talked about this on here. My opinion on bowl games has gone down pretty significantly, just because bowl season doesn't mean what it used to, in my opinion. Some people still enjoy sitting down to watch the Birmingham Bowl on a Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. I'm just not there anymore, because the college football playoff has made it to where, and my buddy came up with this and it's so good. The slogan for the college football playoff is who's in, right? But what that does is says, okay, who's in, but it also tells you who's out. And there's a reason they don't play bowl games in the NFL. There's a reason they don't play an extra exhibition game in the NBA for teams that don't make the playoffs, because you didn't make the playoffs. That's what you're there to do. That's what the season is about, is making the true postseason. I know we treated bowl season as the quote postseason, but it's not anymore. And I hate that. I loved it growing up. I loved bowl season growing up. It's just not what it used to be anymore. And now that we're expanding the college football playoff, or I should say have already expanded the college football playoff, and then we'll continue to expand the college football playoff. We'll talk more on that on tomorrow's show. It just takes away all of the, I don't want to say seriousness or validity, but kind of bowl games now. Again, who cares about Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl? I don't. I'm not going to watch that on whatever day that is that it's on TV. I'm not going to go out of my way to do so. And that's what's unfortunate about all of this. And even some of the bigger bowls or New Year's Six bowls that aren't involved in the playoff yet, even those, it's just like, all right, whatever. Because to me now, what it is now for some bigger teams, I feel like in Indiana, if you don't make the college football playoff, that bowl game is pretty much a 4-hour reminder of, hey, you didn't make the college football playoff, but good season anyway, guys. Nice job. Like, that's what it tells me. And that may be negative. I don't know. It probably is. But that's just kind of where I stand on all of that. And so, getting to the main conversation here, in case you haven't seen anybody else's playoff predictions or anything, nobody's predicting Indiana to get back to the playoff. Just go ahead and be ready for that. Just go ahead and prepare your brain and your heart for that. If you haven't seen people talking about it yet, nobody is predicting the Hoosiers to make it back to the playoff. And that's understandable because most people haven't looked at Indiana. They refuse to look at the roster, and all they do is say, oh, yeah, step back season. Cool. They're not making it. Next. And then they move on and they don't worry about it. And so these two gentlemen, Bonagura and Schleybaugh at ESPN, weirdly enough, they have Indiana in the exact same spot. They predicted Indiana to go to the exact same bowl game, the ReliaQuest Bowl, down in Tampa, Florida. One of them has Indiana playing Ole Miss. The other has Indiana playing South Carolina. It has to be a Big Ten versus SEC matchup, of course. And look, in a vacuum, no playoff or anything else, I think that'd be a lot of fun. It's a bigger bowl. It's not the Rose Bowl or anything, obviously, but Indiana goes 9-3 this year, misses out on the playoff, but you get to take on a big SEC team. I think we would be okay with that. Would you? Let me ask you this, Indiana fan. Would you be okay with Indiana going 9-3, possibly even 8-4 in this scenario, but having some good wins in there, tough losses, close losses, no real blowouts, right, at Penn State or at Oregon, and then getting a shot at a upper middle pack SEC team at Ole Miss or South Carolina? Would you, as an Indiana fan in year 2, be happy with that? 9-3 for me, I'm okay with that. 8-4, just because I love this roster and I've seen what it is, I know what it is, and I have high expectations. I do, and I hate to be that way, but it is what it is. The schedule is still not all that difficult outside of a couple of tough road games and one really tough road or a tough home game with Illinois to start the Big Ten season. I just don't know if 8-4 in a ReliaQuest Bowl is going to get me all that fired up for what the future of the program is. I'm not saying at that point you want to fire Kurt Signetti and stop believing or anything like that. I'm just saying for me, 8-4 in a ReliaQuest Bowl would be a little bit of a disappointment. That would be that inevitable step back that most people are talking about. But let's say you are 9-3. That 9th win comes against Purdue at the end of the season, right? You drop tough games against Penn State, Oregon, and then one of them there of Illinois or Iowa, or maybe you let Wisconsin come in to beat you. Heck, maybe you slip up on the road at Maryland or something, right? I mean, it's college football. It happens. But you get that 9th win against Purdue, and then you take on Ole Miss or South Carolina, who I think are going to be solid teams. I don't think they're playoff teams either, but they're still solid teams in the SEC. You get a chance to defend the Big Ten Conference in a bowl game like this. That I would be okay with. Would still be upset and disappointed by not making the playoff, but the season wouldn't be a disappointment, if that makes any sense. And so that's what these two guys say at ESPN. Their playoff predictions, they've got Oregon and Texas in there, Georgia, Clemson, LSU, Clemson, Alabama, Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Georgia. So, of course, there's no real separation there in terms of, here we go. The first round also. Boise State's in there, Arizona, Miami, Arizona State, LSU, Notre Dame. I mean, they're just picking the same teams and just have them all mixed around a little bit. So not a whole lot of difference in takes there, guys, in terms of their playoff predictions. They literally just picked all the same 12 teams and just placed them in different spots. Whatever, man. I just don't think the playoff is going to go as chalk as people think it is. That's all I've seen. That's all I've seen is, look, the teams at the top, sure. Georgia, Texas, Penn State, Ohio State. Sure, they're going to be there. But does everybody think that LSU is going to be a playoff team this year? No. Does everybody think that Miami's just going to finally figure it out? No. Does everybody think that Arizona State's just magically going to be good again? No. Does everybody think that Oregon actually has a good season this year. No, there are people who don't think all of those things. And all of that is not going to happen. Somebody will disappoint and somebody will overperform, overachieve according to those on the outside. I think Indiana's that team, folks. You were a year ago on a major scale, but I think now you're that team that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to accept it, but you can come in and play big time spoiler for a lot of those big name teams. So just be ready. Indiana's not going to be predicted by anybody to make it to the college football playoff. And to be honest, I think that's really where we want to be in terms of people not worrying about us, not looking at us, not talking about us. Let us do our thing, and we'll come talk to you in late November. All right, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, paying for national championships isn't anything new because that's what NIL and recruiting has been basically allowing to do. But now you're allowed to full-blown cheat and get a national title as well. We'll talk about that and why I think every team should do it right after this here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with your friends or your family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize that you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab those last minute tickets without all the stress. With the money you save on those tickets, you're able to splurge on some food, maybe a beverage or two, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come along with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. I've told you, anytime I use tickets, I used it a couple of weeks ago to go to a concert. Game Time is where I go. I took all the other ones off my phone. I don't even go to them anymore because I know that Game Time is better than all of them with better prices, better selection, and Game Time is the way to go. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again so much for making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. And I want to preface this last conversation with this is not going to be a bunch of the details out of this situation. If you would like to go and read up on that, you are more than welcome to do so, and hopefully you already have. This is more so me just giving my full-blown opinion as we wrap up today's show. You all saw that Michigan finally, after however many years it's been, finally got punished by the NCAA for their national championship season with Connor Stallions and Harbaugh and all that with the full-blown cheating scandal that they were caught up in, right? You can go read the details. You can go watch the documentary. You can make your own opinion on what you think about the situation in itself, right? But they came out, they got fined, right? They have to pay 20-something million dollars from their postseason revenue moving forward. Sherrone Moore got another game suspension. Harbaugh can't coach in college football till like 2038 or something like that. But at the end of the day, not a whole lot really happened. When you look at it, Michigan got away with it. They got away with it. They got away with cheating, and all they had to do was pay a small fee. And yes, I say small because the University of Michigan can afford $20 million. And they don't even have to stroke a check for it, folks. They didn't have to write a check on Friday afternoon. They just have to pay that based off of their postseason revenue when they make the college football playoff the next time. And by my calculations, I think by them making it just one time. So if Michigan makes the college football playoff this year, the money that they would make from ticket sales, merchandise, TV revenue, automatic money that they get from the conference and things like that, just for making the playoff, I think they would pay off that debt in 1 year. One. So you're telling me that Michigan, who blatantly cheated, who admitted to cheating and got caught cheating at the same time, all they have to do is pay $20 million as an athletic department off of future revenue? That is absurd to me. And look, I don't have any personal hate towards Michigan. I honestly don't care about Michigan. I could care less about Michigan. I don't think about them. I don't worry about them, even being in the Big Ten. I don't care. I cared about them last year when we beat them. But other than that, I don't really worry about them because they're good, not great. And they're relevant here and there, but not all the time. But it's a bigger picture idea here that Michigan paid to cheat, paid for an advantage, and won a national title and got away with it. I don't understand how we're just going to allow this to happen. The NCAA said, well, we got to punish them, but well, we can't take the national title from them. Don't want to do that. That'd be kind of mean. Well, we don't want to take any wins away from them. That'd be unfair. That'd be a little harsh, right? Hey, USC, I cannot wait to hear what Mark Culkin has to say sometime this week on the Locked On Big Ten Squad. USC fans have to be absolutely livid that the NCAA basically, no, bad Michigan, slapped him on the wrist. It's like a dog that pees in the house. You just show it to them. You didn't even rub their nose in it. You just said, bad Michigan, bad. Don't do it again. That was bad, right? That's what happened here. And so my argument, and a lot of people took this argument on social media too, and I'm glad they did, was, well, was it worth it? At the end of the day, was it worth it? Hell yeah, it was worth it. Michigan paid $20 million to hang a banner in their football facility, to all get rings, to have a trophy in the case, and to claim that they are a national champion from here on out forever and ever and ever. I don't care that there's an asterisk next to it. Nobody's going to say anything about it. Sure, the Houston Astros were World Series champions after they were banging on trash cans and cheated their way to it. But guess what? They're still world champions. Nobody goes out of their way to talk about the cheating stuff. They'll bring it up. And there are some people that don't respect it. But guess what? The Houston Astros don't care because they're world champions. That's what Michigan's going to do as well. And so with all of this, my argument is, what's going to stop any other program from doing this? You're already paying to win, at least paying to compete with NIL, right? And under the table money, which has been happening forever. But what's going to stop another program from doing some sort of cheating scandal, whether it's this type of behavior or something different? What's going to stop them and say, well, let's cheat our way to the top. Let's win it all. And when the NCAA catches us in 5 years, oh no, you caught us. Darn, here we go. Good thing is we already saved up some money. Here you go. Thanks. Appreciate it. Have a good day. What's stopping another program from doing that? That's why I had an issue. And then Michigan had the audacity to come back and say, yeah, we're going to appeal that. We're going to appeal those. What? What? Why? Why would you appeal it when you admitted to it, clearly got caught, and they're letting you get away with it almost clean-handed? Like, I don't know, man. It's just a joke. And again, this doesn't really have anything to do with Indiana. It's more so just the bad decisions that the NCAA has made, and the fact that the future of college football is up in the air, and we're leaving it up to these buffoons to do something about it, who clearly continue to make fools of themselves. That's what's embarrassing and annoying to me. And so who's next? Who will be next? Who will be the next team to pay whatever fine, cheat their way to the top, and win a national title? Should Indiana do it? Should other Big Ten teams do it? Should everybody do it and just see who gets out on top? Let me know if you think that this was a good decision by the NCAA, a bad decision by the NCAA, and whether more teams will or should cheat their way to the top. I hate to say it, but it's just where I stand right now because, gosh, man, our sport's in trouble, man. Our sports is in trouble. All right, we're out of time. We got to get out of here on today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here. Greatly appreciate you supporting this show. However you do so, we're excited for another week here on the channel, okay? Subscribe, follow us, turn on notifications, however you get us, okay? And so until next time, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.